Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Saturday, September 17, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 360 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting picks that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Going back to our video, we will give you 2 betting picks for each game, a team pick and a total pick based on facts and detailed explanation. So make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Carolina Panthers vs New York Giants. It might not be the most highly anticipated matchup of Week 2, but that doesn't mean we can't find opportunities for value, as the New York Giants host the Carolina Panthers. Will Danny Dimes and the Giants stay perfect under Brian Daboll, or will Baker Mayfield pick up his first win as a Panther? I lean toward the former. New York played a pretty mediocre game with several sloppy mistakes, and they still picked up a road win over the Titans in Week 1. I'll go ahead and say it, Saquon Barkley is officially back. Not only did Barkley put up 164 yards on the ground, including an electric 68-yard run, but he also reeled in 6 passes. Daniel Jones was far from perfect, but he did still average 9 yards per attempt. Baker Mayfield, on the other hand, did absolutely nothing in his heavily hyped revenge game against the Browns. Carolina's offense was completely stagnant during the first 3 quarters, and Mayfield is getting way too much credit for a couple of Panthers touchdown drives in the fourth. The first came on a busted coverage where Robbie Anderson was wide open, and his best pass on the second drive was a screen pass. I wasn't impressed at all, and he'll now be going on the road to face an underrated Giants defense. Daboll surprisingly went for 2 at the end of New York's upset in Tennessee, signaling the arrival of a new era of Giants football. The players love him, and this team is going to play with energy and confidence. Expect a strong showing in their home opener. Our team pick is Giants -2. This one has snoozefest written all over it. Despite Barkley having one of his best days as a pro, the Giants still only scored 21 points. Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney were both complete non-factors, which doesn't bode well for New York's chances of making their offense more explosive. Expect to see them in more low-scoring slugfests for now. Mayfield struggled behind the Panthers' shaky offensive line, absorbing 4 sacks and looking skittish in the pocket like he often did towards the end of his tenure in Cleveland. And don't expect the ground game to bail him out. Christian McCaffrey didn't do much in the opener, and the Panthers averaged just 2.8 yards per rush attempt. Mayfield didn't show much of a rapport with DJ Moore, and if he and CMC aren't producing, then this offense doesn't have much upside. Matt Rule has proven to be a very conservative coach, and I wouldn't expect the Panthers to be too bold with their offensive game plan here on the road. Points will be at a premium in this NFC battle. Our total pick is under 43.5 points. Indianapolis Colts vs Jacksonville Jaguars. Will the Indianapolis Colts avenge their embarrassing Week 18 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars that knocked them out of the playoffs last season? We're about to find out. The Colts always seem to have weird openers, and that was the case yet again in 2022, as they ended up tying the Texans in a game in which they were large favorites. Now is the time to buy low on a very good Colts team that underwhelmed in Week 1. They may have tied the game, but they dominated the box score. If you look at total yardage, the Colts outgained the Texans by an eye-popping 517-299. It's not often that you see a team go for 500+ yards, hold the opposing team to less than 300 yards, and still not win. The Colts just had some sloppy miscues, including the recently released Rodrigo Blankenship missing an easy field goal for the win. Matt Ryan took a little bit of time to adjust to his new team, but I walked away still mostly impressed by Frank Reich's unit. Michael Pittman put up 121 yards, and I don't think a Jaguars secondary that just got shredded by Carson Wentz will be able to cover him. The Jags and Trevor Lawrence have potential, but it clearly isn't fully realized. Lawrence missed several easy throws in Jacksonville's Week 1 loss to Washington, and it turns out the team's lack of discipline wasn't entirely the fault of Urban Meyer. It looks like the Colts also may get Shaq Leonard back for this one, which would be a huge boost for the defense. Our team pick is Colts -4 points. A total in the mid-40s seems a bit low for a game involving 2 aggressive offensive-minded head coaches and 2 defenses with major question marks. The Jags just gave up 4 touchdown passes to Wentz, so I don't think Ryan will have too much of an issue carving them up. Overall, I got the impression from Indy's tie against Houston that Ryan is going to have a pretty good season. The team committed a bunch of mental miscues which can be cleaned up, but the bones are there. Even with some drops and breakdowns, they still managed to put up more than 500 yards on the road in week 1. Jonathan Taylor, fresh off a 161-yard performance, is going to be running wild this weekend. On the flip side, Indy is pretty banged up on defense. Leonard didn't play in week 1, and now all-pro defensive tackle DeForest Buckner missed practice on Wednesday with a hip injury. Even Pro Bowl cornerback Kenny Moore popped up on the injury report on Wednesday with a limited practice. The Colts let Davis Mills move the ball pretty comfortably on them for most of the first 3 quarters, so Lawrence should be able to do at least some damage. Our total pick is over 45 points. Miami Dolphins vs Baltimore Ravens. We've got 2 AFC teams coming off impressive week 1 wins here as the Baltimore Ravens host the Miami Dolphins. Baltimore just beat up on the Jets, while the Dolphins dominated the Patriots. For a few reasons, I think the Ravens will be the team that improves to 2-0 here. Miami may have beaten New England by a score of 27, but that final score doesn't really tell the full story. The Finns caught pretty much every break imaginable in that game, including getting a tipped ball interception on the Pats' promising opening drive. New England just consistently shot themselves in the foot, and I wasn't actually impressed with anything Miami did. Tua Tagovailoa was still inconsistent, and the Dolphins still couldn't run the ball. They averaged just 2.8 yards per carry on 23 attempts as a team. Lamar Jackson looked a bit rusty in the first half after a tumultuous offseason, but he settled in nicely and ended up tossing 3 touchdown passes in the win over the Jets. Mark Andrews was his usual reliable self, and it looks like third-year pro Devin Duvernay could be poised for a bit of a breakout following the Marquise Brown trade. It also looks like J.K. Dobbins may return here after he logged his first full practice on Wednesday. That would be a massive upgrade for Baltimore's offense after they used Kenyon Drake as their starting running back in week 1. Lay the points with the home team. Our team pick is Ravens minus 3.5 points. The under also makes a lot of sense in this spot. These two teams both won on the backs of their respective defenses last week, as they only allowed 16 total points combined. Joe Flacco attempted a whopping 59 passes against this Ravens defense last week, and the Jets came away with 9 points to show for it. Flacco barely cracked 5 EPA against Baltimore's secondary, and it's possible they get Marcus Peters back here after he missed week 1. Miami wasn't spectacular offensively in their first game, but they played well enough, scoring 20 points against the Patriots. They threw for 242 yards and ran for 65 yards in the win. Tua Tagovailoa completed 70% of his passes for 270 yards and 1 touchdown. Chase Edmonds had 12 carries for 25 yards, while prized offseason acquisition Tyreek Hill had 8 catches for 94 yards. The Ravens took care of business as was expected in their first game, but they needed 14 second-half points to put the Jets away. Even though Jackson played well and carried the ball 6 times, they were unable to get their ground game going, and they're hoping J.K. Dobbins' return to the lineup will give their run game a boost. Baltimore scored 24 points against the Jets. They threw for 211 yards and ran for 63 yards in the win. Lamar Jackson lost his top wide receiver, Hollywood Brown, to Arizona in the offseason and wasn't very accurate in their game, completing 56% of his passes for 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also picked up 17 yards on the ground. Kenyon Drake led the team with 31 yards on 12 carries, while Rashad Bateman led the team with 2 catches for 59 yards and 1 touchdown. The Dolphins on the other hand had Mac Jones rattled last week, and they were able to hold New England's run game in check. After their run defense struggled last season, that was especially encouraging to see. And it could bode well against the Ravens' run-heavy attack. When these teams played each other last year, it was an ugly slugfest that was a 6-3 game after 3 quarters. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something similar here. Our total pick is under 44.5 points.